Home nothing. I'd like to try this thing just once. Come on, honey.
We'll show him a thing or three.
No one will agree completely with my ranking. All opinions are valid. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. It would be great if, in the comments, you post your ranking 1 to 10, 1 being the best, and I will compile the viewers' choices. The criteria is based on the overall movie. You can find supporting videos of different levels of detail in the complete Fred and Ginger playlist. A link is at the end of this video. Choosing the Barkleys of Broadway as their 4th best movie might not sit well with some, but personally, I love it. I am troubled by the downturn in popularity and in quality of their last 3 movies together, and here they got a chance to go out on top and show they still had it. For Fred and Ginger, 10 years had passed since their last movie together. The Barkleys of Broadway was not planned. Fred had retired in 1946 after Blue Skies, but was talked out of retirement by Gene Kelly to do Easter Parade with Judy Garland after Kelly broke his leg. It was a big hit and put Fred on top again. The Barkleys of Broadway was to be his next pairing with Garland, but by now she had succumbed to her addictions, so Ginger got the call. Yet this movie seems made for them, and I believe this was the highest-grossing movie either of them would appear in for the rest of their careers until Fred appeared in Towering Inferno 25 years later. This movie is more than that for me, a huge Fred and Ginger fan. It is almost a story of what if. If David O. Selznick had not seen Fred's potential, regardless of his wretched screen test, and Fred went back to Broadway. If Ginger had decided to stay safe on Broadway after her first hit, instead of gambling it all and running off to Hollywood. If they continued dating. 20 years later, they very well might have been the real-life Barkleys. Fred would still have been the OCD perfectionist. Ginger would still have been sensitive, remembering every slight. Ginger would still have wanted to prove herself as a dramatic actress. And others would still have had romantic designs on the two of them. To me, this movie is the two of them playing their real lives, if. I stated that beauty is in the eye of the beholder. I am older now, and see life from that viewpoint. I have studied Fred and Ginger's enormous careers and lives in detail. It was not always rosy, not always successful. They suffered through down periods, and terribly unfair criticisms of their talents, their worth as performers, and vicious personal attacks. All this will be covered in the Fred and Ginger documentary series. What is so inspirational in their life stories is how they never quit, never stopped, and found ways to once again rise to the top, even in their golden years. This movie is one of those moments where they proved they still had it, put on one hell of a show, and ended their partnership as it should have been, on top. Hooray for Fred and Ginger. That's why I love this movie so. The Barkleys of Broadway was produced by Arthur Freed, directed by Charles Walters, songs by Harry Warren and Ira Gershwin, co-starring Oscar Levant, Billy Burke, Jacques Francois, and Gail Robbins. In the opening scene, Fred and Ginger do a nice little dance, swing trot, but it is almost completely covered over by the opening credits. Duh. They did pose for some nice photos of the scene. On the ride to the opening night party, we see they squabble a great deal. Starting off positive and lovey-dovey, Ginger anticipates Fred's perfectionist criticism, Fred delivers, and she loses her temper. Just like they really were. They make up at the party, but then a young French playwright and director tells Ginger exactly what she wants to hear, that she is a great dramatic actress wasted in musical comedy, the opposite of Fred's criticism. Ginger is enthralled by the idea and totally forgets Fred is waiting for her. When he confronts Ginger, he clearly sees what Ginger seems to be totally oblivious of. This creep is wooing his wife. Oscar Levant, a great pianist, plays a rousing rendition of the saber dance for the party. When they get home, Fred is seething with jealousy and insecurity. Ginger taunts him with the praise she received from the creep, and Fred blows his top and says things he does not mean until Ginger hits him in the head with a bottle. Again, they quickly make up, and Fred sings the sweet "You'd Be Hard to Replace" to Ginger. Things are going smoothly, but regardless, the producer wants an understudy for Ginger, the first ever. Ginger takes it well, even when this beautiful but annoying understudy blatantly flirts with Fred in front of her. In one of the two highlights of the movie, Fred and Ginger do one of their best fun dances in Bouncin' the Blues. Fred and Ginger attend a half-baked artist's exhibit of his impression of them, and Ginger is aggravated by again being Trilby to Fred's Svengali. The creepy director is also there, and Fred is annoyed as Ginger is again flustered around him. For their show, they do a Scottish routine in kilts, my one and only Highland fling. They go to a weekend getaway, and on the walk from the train sing "Weekend in the Country" with the reluctant Levant. Fred and Levant go golfing, and Ginger is supposed to meet them at the 9th hole. The creepy director uses the opportunity to enact his plan, telling Ginger only she could play the part of Sarah Bernhardt in his play. Ginger is totally mesmerized at the possibility, and again forgets all about Fred. When Fred appears, furious, the director hides, and Ginger pretends she is sick. Preparing for a magazine photo shoot in their house, Fred discovers Ginger is hiding the creep's script, and, worse, a note congratulating her on fooling Fred that she was sick at the getaway. Fred explodes and says terrible things, and Ginger walks out on him. Now on his own, Fred does a very creative dance with special effects, shoes with wings on. Ginger is doing terribly under the creep's direction. Fred watches her rehearsal, and when Levant cleverly manipulates Fred, Fred calls Ginger, pretending to be the creep, and gives her solid advice. It works, and Ginger's next rehearsal performance is great. Fred always modestly downplays his acting skills. Here, watching from the wings, he is fantastic, expressing such joy and pride in his wife. And then devastation when she hugs the creep and calls him darling. Levant has been working at getting the two back together, telling each the other will not be at his yearly benefit show. We get to again see what a virtuoso pianist Levant is, with his rendition of Concerto in B-flat minor for piano. Ginger is aggravated when Fred joins her in the wings, and puts on a great show of how she wants nothing to do with him. Fred knew she was going to be there, but blames Levant for fooling them both. Now comes the second highlight of the movie, the most touching ballroom dance scene they ever performed. They can't take that away from me. The only time they ever reused a song, in Ginger's bio she said it was wasted the last time, and I agree. Levant completes his plan by announcing they will dance together. About to dance with Fred again, what Ginger loves most in all the movies they made. Her facade is ripped away, and she looks so vulnerable. Fred pleads with his wife with the words of this beautiful song. They dance, and Ginger starts smiling, dancing with the man she loves. They stop, face to face, and Ginger is so torn. For the life of me, I do not understand why some dance critics dismiss this dance. To me, Fred's choreography was beautiful, and it was beautifully executed. More than that, The highest level of dance is to express emotions, and here these two tell an entire story of their love for each other in one dance. It does not get any better. Afterwards, Fred tries to talk to Ginger, but she says nothing can happen until she proves herself as an actress, and walks away sobbing. Opening night, and Fred sneaks in late. Ginger performs Sarah Bernhardt's Audition, an unfairly much criticized performance covered in its own video. Once again, Fred's performance is perfect. So proud of Ginger, but worried now that she is a great success, he has lost her forever. Afterwards, Fred tells Levant his concerns. Levant's callous date makes it worse by declaring the creep dreamy and how he and Ginger make a great couple. In her dressing room, all Ginger cares about is if Fred saw her performance. Did he send flowers or a telegram? The creep comes in and finally makes his move, asking Ginger to be his girl. She dodges the conversation for now. Desperate, Fred calls again, pretending to be the creep, and asks who she loves. Again, Ginger dodges, until the creep walks into the room while she is still on the phone. Ginger's characters always have a bit of a mean streak, and here she tortures Fred while also telling him she loves him. Fred thinks it is all over. Ginger ditches her opening night party and goes to their apartment to surprise him. Fred is angry, and Ginger has a little more fun at his expense, until she does an impersonation of Fred impersonating the creep, and they are once again in each other's arms. Fred suggests a serious play, but Ginger declares she is a song and dance girl after all. Fred sings Manhattan Downbeat to Ginger, and they dance, and then dance in their show together, as it should be. And this was the end for Fred and Ginger. Please like and subscribe.